Hey ellexarmy, I'm so glad you decided to join me today because we're discussing the 8 traits of a healthy submissive, regardless of where you fall on the gender or kink spectrum. There's a lot of talk about what makes a good dominant, but far fewer conversations about the nature of a healthy submissive, and that is why we're discussing this today. I also wanted to do this video partially as a response to my sissy play with a femdom partner video. That video has garnered over 10,000 views already. But with that, I had to shut some shit down because it was negatively directed toward the submissive men and sissies in my community. So listen up, there's nothing wrong with being submissive. Even if you are a man, there is nothing wrong, nothing intrinsically wrong with you, wherever you fall on the gender or kink spectrum, for having the desire to be submissive. In fact, my most passionate and intimate relationships have been with submissive or submissive switch men. So I haven't had problems with beta males or submissive men, but I've had a lot of problems with betas who are so insecure and therefore driven by ego and this need to overcompensate that they try to act like alphas. And I'm sure you agree, ego-driven behavior is gross. It's a huge, huge turnoff. So let's discuss the 8 traits of a healthy submissive, regardless of where you fall on the gender or kink spectrum. And the first trait of a healthy submissive is humble. They are humble. What I mean by humble is that they are confident enough to accept feedback. It's a huge misconception that humility equals weak, equals passive, equals voiceless, codependent, etc. Humility is actually the mark of confidence and empowerment and strength. Knowing who you are, knowing what you bring to the table. So, if I were to evaluate a submissive to take on, that's what I'm looking for. Are you humble? Can you accept feedback? Are you confident enough in who you are to be able to accept feedback? Because as a submissive, you will get feedback. You will displease your dominant, and you will make mistakes, and you will need direction and need guidance. But if you are too insecure to accept that feedback, that is not good for you or for your dynamic. And when a submissive cannot accept feedback, when they're not confident enough and therefore humble to accept that feedback, then there will be justifications and excuses, and really these things that you need to navigate with your submissive as a dominant, you're not going to be able to address without it being a huge issue. So humility is absolutely crucial for a healthy submissive. A healthy submissive will also be teachable. They will have a desire to learn and grow. That is actually a huge driving force in the heart of a lot of submissives is, I want to grow, I want to be better, I want to have help in my development process. I want accountability and guidelines and structure and boundaries, and they are looking for the dominant to provide that. But in order for the dominant to provide all of those guidelines, boundaries, structures, growth, etc., the submissive has to be teachable. They have to have a desire to learn and grow and develop themselves. The alternative to this is a rigid submissive. A submissive who wants the submissive experience but is still so full of fear and insecurity that they really don't want to relinquish and be taught. They want to still maintain some sense of control. A healthy submissive will also be communicative. They will not avoid or run from conversation even when it gets a little uncomfortable. And you know, if you are a dominant or submissive, if you've been in the lifestyle, this is intense and it's intimate, and there will be times that we have to have some uncomfortable conversations. A healthy submissive is communicative, is again confident enough to go, I'm not gonna shy away from a potentially uncomfortable conversation. I'm not going to avoid, I'm not going to be passive aggressive, I'm not going to try to emotionally manipulate. I am going to face it and engage even when it could be uncomfortable or it could challenge me in a way I may not like or be able to anticipate. Because if you are with an avoidant submissive here, dominance, you won't really be able to make much progress because you know the importance of keeping those lines of communication open. And if you are trying to engage with your submissive and they don't want to because it's scary, it's uncomfortable, it's intense, and they're avoidant and want to shy away because they're so insecure, you're not going to be able to push past that, help them through that, and guide them into where you want to take them. It's like talking to a wall, and at that point, they really stifle a lot of their own growth. So submissives, stay humble, stay teachable, and stay communicative. Even when it may be awkward or uncomfortable, keep those lines of communication open. Your dominant must be able to trust you. Just as you have to trust your dominant, it is a power exchange. You are exchanging power. It is in a constant engagement and exchange. So those are today our 3 traits of a healthy submissive. Stay tuned because next week we're discussing 5 more ways to identify a healthy submissive.